A woman of that caliber would be quite appealing, my father-in-law remarked, his gaze fixed intently upon me. Yet, discovering someone akin to you seems nearly unattainable, he remarked, his gaze never faltering from its intense focus. For even if it is claimed that each person has a double lurking somewhere, no one has ever managed to encounter their own reflection. I often find myself wishing I had been born in your era, or that you had come into the world in my own. How fortunate your husband is, and I express this with the utmost respect and warmth. His stare was so intense that a shiver coursed down my spine. A sense of unease washed over me, though the reason for it eluded my understanding. It felt as though a tremor had coursed through my being, leaving my stomach awash with an unfamiliar sensation. In an unexpected twist, my nerves betrayed me, and I inadvertently nudged the bottle of oil nearby, sending it cascading onto the floor. Alas, what have I done? I remarked, lowering myself to retrieve the bottle. As I lifted my gaze, I noticed my father-in-law had seized the opportunity to step forward and extend his assistance to me. Yet I seized the moment to offer him a gentle pat on the eye, for his gaze was anything but steady. It wandered, distracted, as if searching for something just out of reach. It is not that I have been particularly fortunate or abundantly blessed by nature, but what I possessed was more than sufficient to draw one gaze over another. Fear not, it's merely a touch of oil. I'll grab the rag and take care of it immediately, my father-in-law said, a subtle smile playing on his lips that brought me a sense of calm. Though his demeanor left me somewhat bewildered, I found myself at a loss in deciphering his behavior. It appeared as though he was acting with a certain intention towards you, only to abruptly shift and adopt an air of innocence. Wow, his demeanor was driving me to the brink of madness. Thank you, father-in-law. I truly cannot fathom what was going through my mind. I responded, sensing the tension in the situation dissipate. Yet, in an unexpected shift, he altered his tone once more and remarked, I understand your thoughts. With that, he pivoted and made his way to the patio in search of the cleaner. Every weekend, my husband and I would find ourselves making our way to my father-in-law's house, a cherished routine that marked our days. A seemingly simple gesture, yet one steeped in a profound history that rendered it nearly invisible. The motivation behind our actions was evident. He wished to ensure that he did not feel isolated. He had been a widower for over 5 years, coinciding with the time I was married to his son. The truth, it didn't trouble me. Conversely, I have always held the conviction that families should stand by one another, particularly in times when no one else is available to provide care for an individual. My father-in-law was a figure of strength, a man who appeared invincible, though not quite old enough to share the company of others in the twilight of life, at least not in the conventional sense of the term. 50 years, no, he was not an old man, far from being incapacitated, nor should one assume that he had reached that stage of life. Indeed, there remains a resilience and desire for a splendid banquet of all that, for occasionally I envision that he longs for it. Yet, upon reflection, is there truly an age at which one feels old, especially when one tends to their well-being as he did? My father-in-law, in contrast to many men of his generation, has not permitted the relentless march of time to diminish his vigor. His regimen was strict, and his workout routine maintained his physique. Upon seeing him, I couldn't shake the thought that to any woman's eyes, he was a sweet temptation, as many would say, myself included. Naturally, I kept this thought to myself, especially in the presence of my husband. It was a matter best left unspoken, yet there was an undeniable allure within him, a mystery that eluded my comprehension. Initially, he believed it was merely due to our shared energy. We understood the essence of adrenaline, that surge of emotion coursing through you when confronted with the unforeseen, the chaotic. My father-in-law embodied a spirit of freedom, unbound by limitations, perpetually in search of something to liberate him from the mundane. In that regard, I found myself drawn to the allure of the unfamiliar and the thrill of the perilous. Perhaps the connection, the spark I sensed in his presence, was the very thread that bound us together, a relentless pursuit of something beyond the ordinary, something that would jolt us from the grips of monotony. It is indeed intriguing, for I am aware that such thoughts should not occupy my mind. My mind ought to have stayed serene within that realm shaped by my affection for my husband. The image of my father-in-law lingered in my mind, shadowing my every step, every silent glance he cast in my direction. He looked at me with an understanding that transcended words, as if he recognized in me that same yearning to embrace life fully, to push boundaries and truly exist. I endeavored to rationalize my feelings, to dismiss the burgeoning attraction that stirred within the very core of my existence. Yet, the undeniable truth remained. No matter how fervently I sought to overlook it, I simply could not. Whenever I found myself near him, my breath quickened and my mind spiraled into disarray. The tempest within me, swirling and chaotic, ultimately bestowed upon me nothing but a profound sense of bewilderment. In that moment, I came to understand that my greatest fear was not the judgment of my husband should he learn the truth, but rather the unsettling revelations I was starting to unearth within my own soul. My husband stepped into the kitchen that morning, as he always did, his presence radiating an energy that was impossible to overlook. I glanced at him as the fragrant notes of the sauce he was crafting wafted around us, and I noticed the way his eyes sparkled when he breathed in the scent. "Oh, but what is that delightful aroma wafting through the air?" he inquired, his voice imbued with warmth, the kind of voice that never failed to bring a smile to my face. A smile crept across my face at his inquiry, while he deftly stirred the pot with a wooden spoon. "There are eggs in the oven," I responded, making an effort to remain present in the moment. My heart raced, not solely due to his gesture, but because of that subtle spark of complicity we always shared, an essence that eludes description. Yet, what unfolded next filled me with confusion. He remained silent on the matter of the food. His gaze deepened, growing more intense. He drew near, a playful and teasing smile gracing his lips, his gaze sweeping over me from head to toe, as if assessing me with a unique understanding that only he possessed. "You are your own love, the essence that fills the space with your presence and the fragrance of renewal," he murmured, breathing in the scent lingering on my neck. A chuckle escaped my lips, warmth flooding my cheeks. His voice, his gaze, held a certain magic that enveloped me, making me feel cherished, as if it were not merely the food that enchanted him, but every facet of my being. "You know I have a fondness for a different kind of breakfast," my husband remarked, his tone imbued with a gentle warmth that caught me off guard. In that instant, my heart experienced a subtle shift. What began as a simple remark from him evolved into something deeper, infused with intrigue and a sense of yearning. Just as I was about to reply, the kitchen door swung open unexpectedly. My father-in-law crossed the threshold, his trapper in hand, and a greeting that flowed as effortlessly as ever. "Good morning, Dad." "Good morning, son," my father-in-law said, his tone casual, as if the tension that had begun to seep into the air between my husband and me was nothing more than a fleeting shadow. My husband, taken aback, cast his gaze downward. Perhaps he had not noticed that something had been spilled there, he remarked with a slight, nervous chuckle, as if attempting to downplay the significance of the blunder my father-in-law had inadvertently left behind upon his abrupt entrance. "Indeed, that will be sorted out shortly," my father-in-law remarked, his voice steady and composed, as though the tension around us was but a fleeting shadow. My husband settled himself to one side, allowing him the room he needed to tidy up. With a sense that the atmosphere had shifted, I turned to the stove, seeking something to grasp that might soothe my racing thoughts. The mere thought of expanding my menu sent a tingling sensation across my skin. You're familiar with the menu I'm referring to, so let's avoid any confusion. In that moment, a thunderclap startled both my husband and me. A thunderous, overwhelming noise echoed through the house, as though the very heavens were communicating with us. In an instant, the world transformed. My father-in-law, engaged in his cleaning duties, lost his footing on the slick floor. In an instant, before a cry could escape his lips or a reaction could take form, he plummeted heavily to the ground. For a fleeting moment, my heart ceased its rhythm, and a wave of fear engulfed me. I sprinted toward him, my legs barely cooperating, as my husband rushed to his side as well. In a rush, we both lifted him, all the while my father-in-law voiced his discomfort. We placed him in a chair close by, and he regarded us with a wan expression. "The pain, I can't stand it," he muttered through gritted teeth, his eyes squeezed shut in agony. "My arm aches and my right ankle throbs." The anguish crept into the kitchen, a dark shadow lurking in the corners. It was clear to us that something was amiss. Without hesitation, we resolved to transport him to the hospital for a thorough examination. The silence that hung between my husband and me was thick and palpable as we journeyed onward. As I gazed through the car window, the sky loomed gray and heavy, a palpable sense of anticipation hung in the atmosphere, something undefined yet undeniably present, pulsing in the air around me. "What is life?" he whispered to my very being. Moments ago, my father-in-law was undoubtedly contemplating that, and he was doing so alongside me. Perhaps I'm uncertain, yet it has been on my mind. Yet one must acknowledge that the unknown possibilities of mere seconds remain a mystery to all. However, fret not, you will soon discover the fate of my father-in-law, for this is the moment when events begin to unfold. Upon our arrival at the hospital, we were met with an extensive wait, yet ultimately, the diagnosis emerged with clarity: a fracture in both the ankle and the arm. My heart plummeted as my husband cast a glance at my father-in-law, his face a canvas of worry intertwined with doubt. It was at that moment, his deep voice resonating as he gazed into my eyes, that he asked me, "Honey, can you stay with him until he recovers? He requires a companion to tend to his needs." That caught me off guard. The gravity of his words pressed against my chest, stirring a flicker of anxiety within me. My father-in-law reassured me, saying, "Don't worry, son, this isn't so bad. I am able to seek assistance from someone for my home needs. I understand that you both have your own commitments, and I wouldn't expect you to alter your plans for my sake." After approximately 15 days of rest, I feel rejuvenated and refreshed. I replied, "Well, father-in-law, I have no issue staying to assist you. Provided that my presence does not cause you any discomfort, I would be glad to remain." The eyes of my father-in-law gleamed with an indescribable brilliance. Then he replied, "No, not at all. For me, it would be quite good and the best option. Certainly, you are welcome to stay. This is your home as well." My father-in-law regarded me with those eyes that had perpetually held an air of mystery, as if they concealed secrets he was reluctant to reveal, yet simultaneously beckoned to be discovered. The living room enveloped us in a heavy silence, a stillness that lingered after the jarring shock of his accident had settled in our minds. His arm and foot were swollen, and though the pain on his face was fleeting, it lingered in his gaze. In that moment of stillness, he revealed to me something I could never have fathomed. We often take for granted the significance of an arm, only to truly appreciate its value when we find ourselves hindered by its absence. His words floated softly, brushing against my ear, yet they stirred a restlessness within me. It felt as though he was alluding to something far deeper than just an ordinary arm. It had only been 2 days since we were rendered immobile, yet I could already perceive the shift in his demeanor. His vulnerability was manifesting in his attitude, in the depths of his gaze, and in the newfound reliance he had on those around him. "If it's not too much to ask," he said, his voice gentle, as though he were wary of imposing on me, "would you help me?" For a brief moment, silence enveloped me, and my heart raced with intensity. A tempest of bewildering thoughts swirled within me, prompting the question, was this merely a straightforward plea for assistance, or was there a deeper meaning lurking beneath his words? He gazed at me, anticipation hanging in the air for my response. Ultimately, I surrendered to the grip of reason, allowing it to guide my every movement. "Certainly, father-in-law," I replied, managing a smile. "What is it that you require?" "It merely delivers a plate. You bind my foot and my arm, "Then fill the tub with water," he said. "I will handle the rest, though if you wish to lend a hand, I would absolutely welcome it and cherish the support." The unexpected revelation was so overwhelming that I couldn't help but laugh, attempting to dissipate the charged atmosphere that had settled between us. "Oh, father-in-law, it appears to me that perhaps a fresh start is in order for you," I remarked, attempting to shift the mood to something more cheerful. "Indeed," he confessed, "my father-in-law," his eyes locked onto mine. "Yet I am unable to locate anyone." In that moment, my words flowed forth almost instinctively. "Is it not so, father-in-law? If you are a young man, beyond your charm, it seems essential to take a stroll now and then, allowing you the chance to encounter that special lady who tends to your needs and provides what you seek, precisely when you desire it." He regarded me intently, as though weighing my words, and then a contemplative expression crossed his face. "Do you believe anyone would still notice me?" "Certainly, father-in-law," I responded, a nervous smile gracing my lips. "Indeed, you bear a striking resemblance to him." Yet, a profound sigh slipped from his lips, and an unmistakable shift occurred in his demeanor. "As I longed for you not to be my son's wife," he spoke with a sorrowful tone I had never before perceived in him. "I would sacrifice every ounce of my wealth to alter that, even my very existence if it came to that." Their words rendered me motionless, as though time itself had come to a standstill in that instant. I found myself at a crossroads, uncertain whether to reply, to linger and absorb more of his words, or to make my exit. There was an undercurrent in his speech, a hint of peril that threatened to shift the very trajectory of my existence. His hand, the left one, the one free from restraint, gently settled on mine. His touch was gentle yet resolute. "You have very beautiful eyes," he said, as if time itself had come to a standstill. "Your desire for discovery is evident, revealing a kindred spirit in your free soul, much like my own." My breath hitched, and in an instant I found myself ensnared by the fervor of his stare. He extended his arm just a fraction further, his fingers grazing my chin, as though he yearned to capture me in that fleeting moment, in that suspended space that lay between us. A tremor coursed through my being, yet I found myself unable to respond in that moment. I found myself utterly enveloped in that intimacy. In that moment, it felt as though a siren blared within my thoughts, prompting me to acknowledge my actions. "Good father-in-law," I uttered, struggling to loosen the tightness that gripped my throat. "It seems more advantageous for him to opt for the plastic and fill the tub with water." I rose from my slumber, my body still uncertain of its purpose, and hurriedly made my way to the door. As I strolled, my thoughts continued to whirl incessantly. I have come to understand my father-in-law's desires, and it no longer troubles me. In contrast, it aligned perfectly with my expectations, though I had never envisioned it in this manner, so straightforward, so unmistakable. How should I approach this situation? I wished to avoid appearing too straightforward and uncomplicated. I wish to convey that this is not as effortless or instinctive for me as it may seem. As I gazed at the water flowing in the tub, an unusual sensation enveloped me. Change is inevitable. I sense it in the air, though the how and when remain a mystery. Yet I am certain that something will unfold. Enveloped in the gentle embrace of warm steam, we found ourselves adrift in a realm far removed from the mundane confines of reality. The gentle glow of the afternoon seeped through the bathroom window, casting playful shadows upon the glistening skin. Every corner of that small space exuded a sense of intimacy, a tranquility that seemed to thrive solely within those confines, nestled between the white and blue walls. The cast encasing the foot and arm did little to hinder the unfolding events. The pain had dissipated entirely, replaced by an odd, unexplainable warmth, as though I had never encountered anyone with such intricate details. His hands, typically cold in different situations, radiated warmth. The water cascaded gently over the two, its soothing flow muffling the noise of the world beyond. In this moment, enveloped in steam and his presence, the outside world faded into oblivion. Yet that bubble, That sense of safety I clung to was poised to burst in a heartbeat. The door swung open abruptly, propelled by the overwhelming force and fury that surrounded my husband. The gaze in his eyes was unlike anything I had encountered before, a blend of fury, confusion, and an emotion that eluded my understanding. His breath came in quick, uneven gasps, reminiscent of someone who had just sprinted a great distance, and his complexion was an unsettling shade of pallor beyond what I had thought conceivable. In that instant, I felt diminutive, more exposed than ever, ensnared between the remnants of the past and the impending future. My husband sought permission at his workplace to visit his father, and what he discovered, what unfolded before him, left him utterly stunned. The liberty I believed was rightfully mine, a liberty that once emboldened me to pursue my own journey, now trapped me within the repercussions of my hasty decisions. My heart thudded with an excruciating fervor. Each passing second felt like a dagger driven deeper into my very being. It was a manifestation of selfishness, a cry from the depths of despair. In the glare of those tempestuous eyes, I came to realize that what I had once thought liberated me had merely ensnared me. He remained silent, at least for the time being. His presence there, poised at the threshold, was a weighty declaration that bore down on me more than any spoken word ever could. The stillness enveloped us, a dense mist from which escape seemed impossible. Within that confined space, as the steam lingered in the air, I realized that everything had shifted, that I had traversed a boundary that could never be undone. As the water cascades over my skin, my thoughts whirl in a tempest, and the burden of betrayal presses heavily upon my heart. I grasped the essence of what needed to be grasped. It is essential to contemplate what is advantageous and what is not, yet it holds even greater significance to reflect on what cannot be reversed. Yet, what had been set in motion was beyond the reach of reversal. The repercussions of my choices had surged forth, and now there was no way to reclaim that fleeting moment of innocent liberation. I extend my heartfelt gratitude for your attentive ear and the precious moments you've spent with my tales. As we part ways, I encourage you to subscribe to my channel and ring the bell, and don't forget to give a thumbs up if my stories have resonated with you. Un querido abrazo de tu amiga Lucy. Hasta la próxima.